I've never seen wholesalers be worse in my life than I see them today. And I'm shocked that still today, in the age of technology and social media and the ease of getting information on people, that I still have internal wholesalers that send me a blanket email for an external wholesaler, of which I know neither of the names, saying, "Dear Ted, Joe Bag of Donuts is going to be in your area in 3 weeks, and here are 4 times, and here's a link to a calendar so you can schedule a time with him because he's with TIMBUKTU Mutual Fund." It's beyond me that somebody actually thinks that will work. I'm literally blown away by it. Here's an idea, wholesaler. How about sending a personal handwritten thank you note? How about in the email saying, "Hey, I noticed you went to Boston College," or "You enjoy making waffles," or I watched the shrimp tank." I mean, how about any little bit of personal sense? You could double your appointments today. And by the way, if you did it through like a LinkedIn in-mail, you could probably triple your appointments, not actually by trying that much harder, but I'm blown away about how bad it is that I can make a ton of money as a wholesaler today because most of the wholesalers don't even try. They don't try.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Awesome Wholesaler Experience podcast, where we look into the many facets of the job, the career, and the lifestyle of investment and insurance product wholesaling. I am your host, the creator of the Awesome Wholesaler Experience, Awesome Mike. Hey, everyone. Today on the show, we have an icon in the industry, yet another one, Mr. Ted Jenkin. Now, I have to read off his esteemed credentials here, so be patient with me, please. His business card is actually a scroll, I'm told, because of all these accolades. So get ready. Mr. Ted Jenkin is a CFP, AWMA, CRPC, AAMS, CMFC, CRPS. And more importantly, he is the co-founder and CEO of Oxygen Financial, an independent advisory firm in Atlanta, Georgia that manages approximately $1 billion, yes, with the B, $1 billion of client assets. Now, in addition to Oxygen Financial, Ted is the founder and CEO of HyperChat Social, which is very cool, by the way. It's a full-service social media marketing agency for financial advisors and small business owners, and he coaches over 200 financial advisors and business owners on a weekly basis. Ted is also the editor-in-chief of Your Smart Money Moves, a consistently ranked top money and personal finance blog by independent ranking companies. But wait, there's more. Beyond running 2 very successful companies, writing weekly for his blog, Your Smart Money Moves, Ted is a weekend finance expert. Ted is the weekend finance expert for CNN's Headline News, Weekend Express, CNN Airport, and a weekly contributor for CNBC and the Wall Street Journal. He sits on their experts panel. Now, Ted has been featured in over 200 publications, including Forbes, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, Financial Planning Magazine, Investment News, the Huffington Post, and the New York Post. Ted has published Real Life, Real Money, 100 Smart Money Moves to Make Right Now, which provides practical tips to put you on the road to financial success. Ted and his companies have received multiple awards from Atlanta's fastest growing company, and most recently has topped the Investopedia's most influential advisor list. He hails at number 4 on the list. Welcome to the show, Mr. Ted Jenkin. I am proud of you, sir. You are quite an accomplished individual. But how are things down in Atlanta? How are you, sir?
Atlanta's a good city, man. It's growing like crazy here, and it reminds me of a lot of cities I used to work in years ago. It's just, but it's growing by leaps and bounds right now.
That's because everywhere you go, you take over. So they all look the same to you. Right now, we mentioned in the pre-call, you're in Auburn picking up your esteemed daughter there. So very cool times. Appreciate you being flexible and being with us in your
Sure.
mobile studio. But before we dig into the content a little bit too much, Ted, I have to ask you about what I think might be your coolest accolade. And that is this little thing that you call the shrimp tank. The shrimp tank. What's going on in the shrimp tank, man? What's going on there? What's up?
I always wanted to go head to head with Mark Cuban. That's why I started this thing. But I actually was struggling to figure out a way how to get in front of these amazing business owners. You know, I wanted to expand my business, and I figured out that the wealthiest people on the planet generally own a business. I'm like, but how is a guy that has 100, 200, 300 person business, how am I going to get in front of them? So I started a podcast called The Shrimp Tank, combined with one of the entrepreneur colleges in Atlanta, and we created a program to interview some of the brightest and best CEOs in and around the city of Atlanta. And I will tell you something, It has led me to, which will start in Atlanta in February, my own TV show in Atlanta to interview small business owners, which is crazy. I'm going to get to meet business owners as prospects and get TV at the same time. It's crazy.
You know, and I can actually empathize with you in that regard, because right now I'm talking to you. I have talked to other icons in the business. I keep saying that the next guest is an icon, and you really are. I would not have that ability if we didn't have this podcast. So I congratulate you on Shrimp Tank. I wish you all the best. We're going to dig into a little bit on the money ref later in the broadcast today. But let's start from the beginning, though, Ted. You know, I know that you went to Boston College, but tell us where you grew up, how it was growing up, and kind of who were your inspirational mentors or leaders as a little Teddy Jenkin.
Yeah, well, I started in the business in 91, literally right out of I graduated Boston College. There was a company called IDS Financial Services, which actually was a subsidiary of American Express, and a guy named Larry Post, who was one of my mentors in the business, hired me, and he basically said, kid, just be dumb enough to be smart enough to do everything I tell you to do for the next 3 years, and you'll make $100,000 income. And I thought to myself, okay, I could be dumb enough to just do whatever this guy says for 3 years, because I was desperate. I wanted to make $100,000. And that's where it all started.
Well, you know, I'm going to even peel the onion back a little bit more, and hope you can, I guess, relate to this, or it's appropriate, I should say. I want to be respectful to you. But I was reading a little bit about your history, and I don't know if it happened I think it happened before you actually met Larry, which, by the way, kudos to Larry Post. He is a real legend in the business.
Yes, he is.
He's influenced a lot of people in my life, Ken Delgaletto, yourself, and some others. But you had, like a lot of us do, you had an unfortunate event in your life that really sparked the fire in you. And can you tell us about your father passing and
it's crazy. You know, I was just at the very front part of going to college, and my mom was a 5th grade school teacher, which is probably one of the most underpaid professions in the United States. And I loved teaching. I really did. I still do today. And my father was a traveling salesman, and unfortunately he passed away at the age of 48. And when he died, we lived in one of those households where basically Dad handled all the money and Mom didn't ask very many questions. And basically we found out when she started asking the questions that he did a terrible job of financial planning. He had $100,000 of credit card debt. He had no life insurance. He had no 401k plan. He left my mom in shambles. And when I graduated BC, I had a double major in finance and accounting. This career, I didn't really know it exactly at the time, but it was such a combination of using the finance and accounting skills, but also being able to be a teacher and an educator. And, I have to tell you, every day this job is therapy for me. It really is. I get to help people do better in their lives. And it makes me feel better about, what happened in my past and being able to help other people not have that happen to them.
I don't know if there's anything more honorable being one of those 48-year-old traveling sales guys with a wife that's been at home the entire time. I understand how important it is to have that financial plan. So hopefully my kids don't have the same tragedy, but definitely the inspiration. And I appreciate you and what you've done. Now I want to talk a little bit of, you were the youngest manager at that level, group vice president. I mean, substantial manager level as a kid. And I think the statute of limitations has expired. But if I could tell this story, ladies and gentlemen, I walk into the office as a young green wet behind the ear wholesaler, and here's this guy who looks like he's 20 years old. He's got this huge remote control, and he's controlling this robot. Now, I'm not going to say that he invented the internet or artificial intelligence, but he had this robot, and he would take it, and it was fun. And he said, "Watch this." And I go in his office, and this robot goes onto the sales desk, and these guys are making outbound calls, and Ted can roll up and he can hit the microphone. He says, "Get back on the phone. Get back on the phone." I mean, it was priceless, hilarious, creative, ingenious, because the guys laughed about it. But guess what then they did? They got back on the phone. So Ted, tell us, was that what Larry saw in you? Was this kind of youthful, but still educated, savvy, that you could be an inspiration to the the advisors that were under your management?
I think I was probably one of the best and worst corporate guys at the same time, because I knew how to get results, but I did it in such an unorthodox way that management constantly looked at me and said, what's wrong with this guy? Or why can't he follow things in the bouncing ball way that we do it at the company? But it was a real dichotomy, because the people in the field loved me. The advisors loved me. People wanted to work with me. Corporate office hated me. And they don't think they didn't hate me because I wasn't getting results, but they're like, why doesn't this guy do things in the box? And I've always thought, and I still do in my career, that the moment you stick yourself in the box and you say, this is the exact formula on how to get things done, that's the time that your income, your career, everything starts to go downhill.
Wow, words of wisdom. So you kind of explained to us you love to teach, and how, Larry kind of gave you the chance to run with it, and you were successful, and it was interesting to watch you blossom. And actually, there was a lot of tears shed when you did leave. Guys like Mike Conley and Lester and
Oh yeah.
Joe Muser. These are guys that they love you, man, and they still do. I'm sure they had a very high acclaim for you, and things they're just different. Let's say nowadays there, but you kind of flew out of the nest and took off running. Now, how did you end up back in Atlanta? Are you normally from Atlanta? I think you're a New Englander, aren't you?
Yeah, no, I grew up in New Jersey, and what happened is after a good 4 or 5 year run in Cleveland, they were consolidating group vice president jobs at American Express, and the Southeast U.S. came together as the largest territory that American Express had at that time, and it was basically the SEC without Florida. That's really what it was, and they asked me if I wanted to take the job and run both the P1 and P2, which were the employee and independent contractor platforms of American Express. And that's what took me down to Atlanta. And you know what? Like literally a few months after I got down there, they said, we're not going to have leaders run both platforms. You're either going to be, employee, or you're either going to be an independent contractor. And then they immediately went to saying, we're going to be Ameriprise. And for me, I think that was the part in time where I was ready to just make a shift in my career.
Yeah, I can understand that. Now, Ted, you've seen the old school advisors. You're now coaching financial advisors, and you're using some new age techniques, I call them. Do you find that the financial advisors that you're coaching, are they resisting, the implementation of this technology, or the kind of call it the new way of being a financial advisor?
Oh, no, 100%. I think you probably have a 5% adoption rate of advisors that basically see where the future is going to be. And you have 95% that say, I'm happy, my clients love me, I'm getting referrals, we'll throw a few wine events. And I think the big disconnect for people is that they don't see the fact that the consumer is going to very much operate in our business like they do in real estate today. So if you think about traditionally 20 years ago, people used to get a real estate agent. Today, they go to Zillow, Trulia, they look at pictures, they research homes. Then they might have an operative mode where they get a real estate agent, or in some cases now, like with Open Door, you don't even have a real estate agent. So the reality is the consumer is going to determine the narrative of your firm down the road. They're going to look on the internet just like you did about me, or other people will, and determine, are you successful or not? And advisors really need to understand that, or they're going to be referrals that got referred to them that never do business with them because they have no narrative on the internet.
So is that what you think the new financial advisor, or the financial advisor that will be successful for the next 10 years, is that what they look like? Are they online?
Well, I think you've got a marketing piece to this and then a practitioner piece. The marketing piece, for sure, if you're not visible on the internet, you're going to see less and less referrals come in, and your competitors that are next to you that are more visible may not be better than you, by the way. They may not be a better financial advisor, but they're going to be better positioned to have the consumer engage with them. As far as the way we do financial planning, I think most advisors really don't see the margin compression that's going to come on the next 10 years, even on fee-based accounts. And you're going to have to be what I would call to be a more connected advisor, that most of your clients aren't going to just look for money management, but a centralized hub that can help them more as a life advisor, not just retirement plans and IRAs, but by the way, do you know a good roofer in town? By the way, do you know somebody who can take care of my lawn? And you wouldn't think that, but being a very socially connected advisor will exponentially augment your business down the road. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I actually like that opinion. I'm a very social guy, and I think it's kind of interesting. A lot of people in our business like to go golfing, and
Yeah.
it's interesting because if I'm on a golf course with advisors and with clients, I would say I'm an average golfer. I just haven't put the time into it, and I'm arguably or moderately athletic, so I can try to hit the ball. But as you know, it's a technical game. Problem is if I go out there and embarrass myself on the golf course, they don't give me any credibility on anything. So
Yeah.
I found that if someone is really good at golf course, they get that social, a pass or an affinity that they're going to be good at everything. So I found that I'm much better with a 9mm than I am with a 9 iron.
Hey, they got those country clubs today. Those things are good.
I go to them, and that's my event. And what happens, Ted, is I show up calm, cool, collected in a dangerous environment. And because I'm able to, help them and perform in the gun range, they give me the credibility to say, hey, do you know a barber in town?
That's right.
Well, maybe they don't say that, but they do. So I think you're right. By you being the financial, the retirement planning guru and very good at that and very social, they're going to want your help with everything in life. And that's kind of what you're saying? The
Yeah,
financial advisor
well,
needs to be much
I'm
more.
saying this to you because I'm going to be 50 next year, and the change today is that people are exiting the workforce or they're having side hustles at an accelerated pace. So if you're not an advisor that understands really about how to help somebody set up an LLC or an S corp or figure out how to manage the separation of church and state, of personal finances, of business finances, there's nuances to financial planning much more than the traditional way I started, which here's a plan and you're 65 and save $476 a month. It's just, life doesn't work that way today. And you're going to need to be a much more integrated advisor, in my opinion, to add that value to justify out what you're charging people.
That's terrific. Now, about a quarter of the people listening or watching this show are going to be financial advisors. So
Yeah.
appreciate that. Now, the great majority, though, are financial wholesalers.
Okay.
Wholesalers. So taking in regard what you just mentioned as what the financial advisor of the future looks like, how are they going to want to interact with wholesalers?
Let me tell you this. I've never seen wholesalers be worse in my life than I see them today. And I'm shocked that still today, in the age of technology and social media and the ease of getting information on people, that I still have internal wholesalers that send me a blanket email for an external wholesaler, of which I know neither of the names, saying, "Dear Ted, Joe Bag of Donuts is going to be in your area in 3 weeks, and here are 4 times, and here's a link to a calendar so you can schedule a time with him because he's with Timbuktu Mutual Funds." It's beyond me that somebody actually thinks that will work. I'm literally blown away by it. Here's an idea, wholesalers, okay? How about sending a personal handwritten thank you note? How about in the email saying, "Hey, I noticed you went to Boston College," or "You enjoy making waffles," or I watched the shrimp tank. I mean, how about any little bit of personal sense? You could double your appointments today. And by the way, if you did it through like a LinkedIn in-mail, you could probably triple your appointments, not actually by trying that much harder, but I'm blown away about how bad it is. That I can make a ton of money as a wholesaler today because most of the wholesalers don't even try. They don't try.
Now, that's interesting, and I appreciate your candor with that, and I have my opinion on why they don't do that. But what do you think is preventing them from doing it?
Again, this is just like financial advisors. It's like the same old box. You got 10 wholesalers that go to their yearly meeting, and it's like, we got to get 20 appointments a week. And it's like, what's the quickest, easiest way to get 20 appointments a week? Well, just pull up emails and then cut and paste. "Dear Ted, see you soon." And it's just easy. And the reality is, in business is not easy. It's not. And the real demarcation line between the successful people and the ones that aren't, to realize it's not easy. But once you actually put the effort in to do stuff that's not easy, your results get exponential, right? So people look at me sometimes, they say, "Oh, it must be nice being on CNN every weekend and doing headline news." And I was like, yeah, but you don't see all the things over here that I did to get there and what I do today to maintain that relationship. So the result always looks easy. It's the work in between that is not.
Yeah, you're a 20-year overnight success, Ted. Appreciate
Yeah.
that. Yeah, no, that's very good. Very good to hear. And I actually, I embrace that. In fact, as you see, we're on a podcast right now that I
Yeah.
produce because I believe that that there is something to be done besides the wholesaler 1.0, I call it. This is 3.0 that we're doing now.
Can I tell you a quick funny story on here just so wholesalers can understand this? Because we're in the holiday season right now. And I'm wondering if this is going to be like all Grinchy or not. But so far, it's like 10 days to Christmas. And here's the wholesaler stuff I got so far. I had one company that sent me a Yeti Rambler. By the way, this is like the 96th time that they've sent Yeti Ramblers. So it's not like it's not new. And I got one awful, it's an undescribably bad bourbon cake. It was like, I don't know what it was supposed to be, but it wasn't even personal. Certainly don't like bourbon cake. It's like, it didn't even have any sense of place whatsoever. But somewhere there was somebody who was like, if we send these guys a bourbon cake, maybe they'll have an appointment with us. It's like, if you do an ounce of research, you can go a long way. And it's why our client acquisition grows so fast. Our assets under management grows so fast because we pay attention to our clients. And as a wholesaler, pay attention to your clients. Now, I'll tell you this, there are two companies I do a lot. There are only two wholesalers I actually see right now. I only see two wholesalers, but they get it and they try hard, and I will do everything I can to help them do more business. So if it's worth it for top producers that are out there, once you get in there and you prove your value, they'll refer you to 1 million people. Is that worth it or not?
Yeah, I think it is. And it reminds me of the story. You might have actually been involved in teaching me this, but people think things happen linearly, and that if you just make 20 meetings a week, and you'll have that compounded effect of success. But it doesn't happen that way. Things happen exponentially.
That's right.
And for me to even contact you and some of the other guests on the line here, it wasn't a one-time, hey, I have a podcast, you want to be on it kind of a thing. No. It was valuable, and we're providing a lot of value, not only to promote your business or to get exposure to your business, really, but also to provide some of this value to these wholesalers. So I can thank you on their behalf. Tell us about your company, HyperChat Social. And I have a quote that I want to ask you about that's very relevant, especially today. And I'll tell you, I've received 3 phone calls in the last 2 weeks from wholesaler headhunters. Because around this time of year, a lot of firms try to retool and hire new staff and kind of do that because they've lost some top employees. So that the content on your site said how to retain your top employees. And you put out there that there is one channel that most of your employees listen to, and it's called WIIFM. All right, and I'm a subscriber to that channel too, by the way. But and you mentioned to learn how to run your business, to retain employees for the long term with a different spin on benefit manuals, vacation, weekly activities, interaction, and having people get what they want so you can get what you want. Can you tell us a bit about WIIFM, Ted, and how we can use that in our business?
Yeah, I feel proud to say that we're on a 2-year run right now for not having lost anybody in my company, not a single person. So I know that what we're doing is working. And many years ago, we had a leader, and I think one of your prior guests probably talked about it, Doug Lennox, and we used to learn something called a witty whiffy, which is what do you want for yourself? And I learned over time in managing people that as much as I want to grow my company, and as fast as I want to grow my company, if everyone that works for me gets what is in it for them, because that's what they care about. People come to work, and it's not that they don't care about the company, but even if you're a wholesaler and you work for a big mutual fund or annuity company, you care about the company, but you care mostly about your family, your income, your personal growth. And if you focus on that and you build your culture around that, you're not only likely to grow the company, but you're going to retain the people in the company. So we are more than 50% women in our company right now. So I changed my policy manual, and we have 100% maternity leave. So we pay for maternity leave today, right? That's not required. We pay 6 weeks for paternity leave. And we have no vacation policy anymore. So it's not 1 week, 2 week, 3 weeks. It's like ask when you need it and you can take it. So we've structured things over time in Oxygen so the people who work for us feel like it's an inclusive environment, and the policies were really dictated not for what you can do for me today, but what you're going to help all of us do over the next 20 years in our company. And you have to, I believe you have to operate that way. It's a changing world.
Ted, that's remarkable. It almost sounds Canadian, frankly. But I actually,
We get free maple syrup too. I forgot to say that. Free maple syrup.
Love it. Love it. That's very inspiring. And especially the paternity leave, you know, when I had my wife had our first son, I took 3 weeks of unpaid leave.
Right.
And, you know, basically just begged them to let me come back to work after the 3 weeks. And, you know, my wife had our son. And ironically, I also took a week-long class to pass my Series 7 and did that. And that was a big change in my life, going from working in the factory to becoming a financial guru, or at least a wannabe. In one of your broadcasts, Ted, or a vlog, I think I would call it, you're on a camera, and behind you is a awesome-looking bookshelf. Pictures of you all, you know, dressed up with you know, the wedding decor, and a lot of books
Yeah.
that are on the shelf there. So my question to you is this, though. Do you have a favorite book? And then I want to, you know, to ask you honestly, do you even read books anymore, or are you more of the online, you know, watching video tutorials or listening to podcasts now?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I'll answer this in two ways. So let me answer first that I don't read anything anymore. I don't read any books at all. In fact, I would encourage financial advisors and wholesalers, and just like you're doing, which I think this is amazing, this podcast today, because when you get in the business of producing content and you start writing things, naturally it forces the learned behavior to learn about different topics. So I've written 1,600 blogs. And sometimes I'll be talking to people and they'll say, you seem so knowledgeable about all this stuff. And it's like, the only reason I am is because I had to write about it. When I interview business owners like we're talking today, and I'm interviewing the guy that owns the largest barbecue sauce company in Atlanta, I'm spending a lot of time researching that guy or that woman before the podcast so I can have an intelligent conversation. And it makes me learn more about them, or maybe the history of barbecue sauce and what came about it. So I actually, reading, you know, management and leadership books are great. You can continue to do that, but I'm not sure it gives you the full education of the real way to get educated today, right? It's a lot of tutorial classroom style learning. And believe me, I'm grateful for my American Express days and the leadership development that I had, but I don't read anymore. The favorite one I ever read is a book called Learned Optimism. I am by far one of the most optimistic people that you'll meet. You know, and that's why people are like, oh, the guy always seems happy. And it's like, I'm happy because I want to be happy. Right? I don't need money, or I don't need to have first row tickets to something to be happy. I'm happy because I get to help people every day. It's a great feeling. Right. But I haven't read a book in 5 years.
So I know that. And I wanted you to say it, though. And it's because of our mutual mentor, Gary Vaynerchuk.
Oh, I love Gary V.
Yeah, me too. And he is, you know, I've got teenagers, so sometimes his language can be a little colorful, but I think he's trying to speak to a certain audience. True. Yeah, but he is a huge proponent of using the technology. Just like the phone book, I wouldn't go to the Atlanta phone book and look up financial advisor anymore.
Right.
I'm going to Google financial advisor and see who comes up. So I'm glad that I'm on the right path, because I also find it challenging to really read a book. But I'll offer to you as a friend and a companion or a cohort, there's something different about reading a book. Like there's something different. I think it takes a little bit more focus. So I think that the depth of your learning, of mine at least, it's a little deeper of a learning if I actually take the time and make myself read a book. And then also I'm told that it helps your eyesight too. Not that you're gonna need that anytime soon, but you know,
this is so funny. It speaks to the area of content, man, and what people are looking at today. You know, we get a fair amount of Jewish clients, and I'll tell you the funny story behind this. It's not by design. 7 or 8 years ago, I wrote a blog that said, you know, what should you give for a bar mitzvah gift? a very innocent, just like, hey, this would just be an interesting thing. Like if you're going to a bar mitzvah, what do you give? Well, over the years, it got read more and more and shared more and more. I'm up to over 1 million views of the article. And if you type in bar mitzvah gift, go Google it today, any one of you, you'll see the first article that comes up is by Ted Jenkin. Like, apparently I'm the expert on what to give for a bar mitzvah gift. So I think people don't realize how much Google is ranking and rating what people view and watch. And that content is so powerful on the internet today. I can't even tell you, it's so powerful in what people are viewing.
I totally agree. And it's kind of fun. It's almost novel. I can remember clearly when Twitter first hit the ground and the financial experts and, the corporations, you'll never be able to use Twitter. We'll never be able to use
Right.
social media. And so I'm with the company now, and we're setting up things so that I can use LinkedIn corporately. And the pushback, of course, from the compliance officer who's been doing that job and that role for 30 plus years and knows how to, they automatically say no, 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 and no. And so what I did is I didn't get, well, maybe I got a little frustrated with it, but I just called FINRA.
Yeah.
And they called me back. And by the way, if you haven't gotten an inbound call from FINRA, it's something everyone should have once in their life at least. Because when they say, hi, this is Amy so-and-so from FINRA calling, you pay attention. Like E.F.
Yeah.
Hutton back in the day, you listen. No, when FINRA calls you, you kind of listen. And but she was so optimistic and so courteous that she said, you can definitely use social media. There's some rules involved with it, but you can definitely use it. And then this gal was so kind. She offered to do a conference call with my company home office, me and her, so that we make sure that everything is lined up for success going forward. So don't let Ted, don't let the, and I'm really speaking to the wholesalers on the call here, don't let the compliance boogeyman prevent you from embracing the next way to communicate. And
well, it took me 17 years before I have over 1,000 approved blogs from FINRA right now. And that's why I started HyperChat Socials to provide FINRA compliant solutions for broker dealers and advisors to grow their business on social media. And I never realized FINRA doesn't actually approve anything. They just review stuff. And all the years I worked for the big corporation, they say, we can't do that because FINRA won't approve it. And I finally sent all this stuff up to FINRA, and they sent it back, and like 98% of the things I sent up, they're like, I don't know why you sent this to us because it has nothing to do with security, so we don't care. And it made me realize that the more your content stays away from securities, the better off you're going to be. Like this kind of podcast doesn't have to do with securities. The Shrimp Tank is not about securities. I have a podcast called The Social Commute on social media. It has nothing to do with securities. That's stuff that you can do and not get in trouble, right? Because that's the idea, grow your business, but not piss off the regulators.
Yeah, 100%. And, and they have their job to do. And I think that there are a few, bad actors that cause them to have to look at everyone with a little heightened scrutiny. So I think it's justifiable. We mentioned quickly Gary Vaynerchuk, but you also have another mentor that I discovered, and that's Neil Patel. And I was a little surprised by that one. I do know who he is in the online marketing business and such, but can you tell us, what about Neil kind of is inspiring to you, Ted?
Neil is an absolute genius. Look, let me give you guys the simplicity on this side of complexity. If you go to Neil's website, Neil is a master at building one-page, easy conversion websites. 99% of the financial advisors that are on here are wholesalers talking to financial advisors. Ask the financial advisor one question, which is, how does a prospect convert on your website? Like, how does a prospect convert on your website? And still, there's advisors out there that still actually have emerald websites that the only way you can get to them is there's a tiny little button in the upper right-hand corner that says contact us. It's like, oh yeah, on my phone with a little blip that looks like Space Invaders or something in the right-hand corner, I'm gonna contact you. So advisors they don't realize that Neil is a genius at SEO and website design, and I learned from watching him and people like Gary V, who basically I've learned that just say what you're going to say. People don't realize in social media you can never be Switzerland. If you want to be Switzerland in social media, you're going to fail because nobody's interesting socially who basically has a vanilla opinion on everything. It'd be like having a debate, like, who's better, Michael Jordan or LeBron James? And you're like, well, they're both good. Okay, well, you're boring. It's like, have an opinion. You like this one or you like that one. And on social media, you have to pick a side. You have to.
It's cool. And in fact, I like Michael Jordan, but the interesting thing you mentioned is, to not be vanilla. In fact, if you think about it, my show, the Awesome Wholesaler Experience, I am Awesome Mike. Ted, if you break that down, it doesn't say everyone. It says awesome.
Yeah.
So I know not everybody's going to love it, but the ones that do, those are the ones that will become, what I call true fans, and that will appreciate the content and will enjoy and embrace the journey, and even some trolls. I'm sure that you have some trolls that are out there. I like the trolls because they let me know that I'm on the right path. I think the biggest sin, and Dan Kennedy taught me this, the biggest sin in business is to be boring.
Totally. Yeah, 100%.
Is to be boring. Very good. Very good. Well, thanks for that. Appreciate that. Now, let me ask you this question. And I'm glad you're sitting down. Yeah, because you mentioned that you are relentless.
Yeah.
And being relentless. So I thought about that word for a little bit, and then I looked it up. And the dictionary, my friend, says that the definition of relentless is oppressively constant.
Yeah.
Incessant, harsh, or inflexible. And I don't think that's you.
Yeah.
So I want to know if that's just a cool word or
no, it is a little bit when it comes to marketing, right? What I'm inflexible about is the idea of the silver bullet. See, most wholesalers and most advisors, they totally believe that there's a silver bullet to this thing. And what I'm relentless about is that I'm like the kid who's 13 years old and I got 20 bottle rockets in my hand, and I'm just lighting those suckers off. And I don't know if they're going to hit the neighbor's house, or I don't know if they're going to, they're just going to sputter out. I really don't know, because if I knew an actual way that I'd do one marketing thing and it would guarantee me $5 million clients over and over again, don't you think I'd be doing it? I would be doing it. So would everybody else in the industry, but they're not. So the reality is you have to be relentless. So I have a podcast. I have what I do with my blog. I'm ground and pound with 6 or 7 different things. And you know what happens over time? People will say to you, as they will with you, Mike, they say, I see you everywhere. Well, do you or don't you? I guess it doesn't really matter. The only thing that matters here is the perception that you do, because the bigger and better you think I am, the better I will become. And I don't see that slowing down. I had a podcasting studio, Mike. I'm building out a TV studio now. I totally plan to build my own Netflix shows and things that, are going to blow the industry away. And people are going to say, what is this guy doing? And I'm like, I'm creating the future. I'm creating the future of where we're going. I don't want to do a wine event where I taste wine with 6 of my clients and then glad hand people to get 1 client. That seems stupid to me. I want people to come chase me. I don't want to chase them. That's what all this is about.
I love it. I love it. And the wine tastings, man, you're taking me back there. Oh. That's like 1900s marketing.
I know, exactly. Well, people are still, a lot of advisors are still doing it. It's like, what'd you do for marketing last year? It's like, oh, we had a great client appreciation event at the AMC movie theater. It's like, what? Why? Why?
Oh man, it's funny. It's true though. Let me ask you this. What do you say to the guy, the wholesaler, the financial advisor that says, social media isn't for business. It's really, it's social. It's designed for, non-business activities.
Well, the most broad-based example I could give you is Kim Kardashian. She's, I'm actually a fan of hers. A lot of people hate her. And if you ask most people and say, what do you think Kim Kardashian does? Most people will say nothing. And I go, well, what if I had a job for you where you did nothing and you got paid $20 million a year? You take that one? So I think most people don't realize that it's not just for social. Like, if you use this correctly, you are creating so much inbound business. It's amazing. That's why you can have all these direct to marketing businesses that just open up a pop-up store online and start selling stuff. And the biggest, by the way, guys, being Amazon. I mean, Amazon was nothing 10 years ago, but now everyone's Amazon, Amazon, Amazon. But he did it beautifully. He might be one of the greatest marketers may be the greatest marketer of all time. It's unbelievable what they've done.
I agree. I mean, look at the retail stores; they are suffering. I think shopping in general has totally changed. And in fact, one of my guests, Dennis Mosley Williams, you might know him. He's a big advocate of this thing called the experience economy. The experience economy, as opposed to being binary about what you're doing, about having an experience. And I think you're talking about that. Amazon, the only reason why you go to a store now is to have an experience of going to the store, because Amazon takes care of everything else, and their experience, probably like yours, is unique. You're putting together all of these different, silver bullets. I mean, you have a bandolier of them, by the way. Yeah, you do. And they're very impressive, but they're all designed to help your CEO to have a financial experience. And one of the things that you're doing now, that you're working on, is this Money Ref TV show, where I'm gonna bumble this one, but you basically play money referee for spouses, children. Can you? And I really want you to dig in deep on this one. I am absolutely excited about this show for you, the Money Ref TV show. Tell us about it, Ted. What's it going to be like? What should we expect from you?
So I'm shooting the pilot right now, and then I plan to pitch it to as big as CNBC. And most people don't realize this. I'll tell you this to start. The number one paid TV host last year in America was Judge Judy. She made $147 million. And when I was a kid, Mike, I grew up and I watched Judge Wapner that was on the People's Court. And it was a very simple format. Doug Llewellyn basically had people, he interviewed them, they came in, you had stupid little small claims things, and Judge Wapner would bang that gavel. And it was very interesting to watch because it was just two people having a debate. The reality is, Mike, when it comes to financial stuff, money is a taboo subject. And what people fight about at home, husband and wife, gay couples, it doesn't matter. What they fight about at home is not the 401k. It's not the 529 plan, but petty little stuff that happens in their lives. Oh, I think my wife spends too much money on Amazon and she has an Amazon problem. Or my husband plays too much fantasy football and he wastes money, and they have these arguments at home. And the question is, where do you share that? Who settles those arguments? And I believe that the Money Ref will be that forum, they'll be that forum to be able to watch me be a judge, a referee, and help people have that debate. And I'm going to decide, by the way, just like Judge Wapner did, but I'm going to help people realize that whether you're black or white or Hispanic, or you're dirt poor or you're extremely rich, we all have these same arguments. I think my wife leaves the lights on, and it pisses me off that last 10 years, every time she leaves 5 lights on, I got to shut 5 lights off. Well, who settles that debate? And I want to go in, because I don't think there's anything on TV like it today. And I think hopefully, if it works out right, I'll strike a nerve, and it'll end up elevating me to that next level of being a different kind of money guy, not a Saturday financial annuity guy, not a wealth expert, but somebody who really is deep in the emotional soul of what people really argue about every day when it comes to money. That's what this is all about.
I'm blown away. That is awesome. I think it's the number one reason for divorce, by the way.
Totally. Yeah.
So not only is it like really cool, but I think it's actually going to be a very valuable thing. Not that Judge Judy's not valuable.
Right.
I think that you're going to really help a lot of people with that. And that's very cool. Are you going to get your law degree too now? I mean, you have all of the scroll of accolades to put JD on the back of there. Then you can be Judge Ted.
Man, if they pay me $147 million, I'll get the degree. Yeah, I'll do that in a heartbeat. I'll crash course that thing.
Done. Absolutely. Well, that's very cool. I appreciate the conversation very well, and I think you've got some great things going on, and not only with Oxygen Financial. By the way, what a great tagline! Breathe easy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's very cool, and that's what a lot of people want with their money, is to be able to breathe easy about it.
Yeah.
And then the Hyper Chat's awesome. Shrimp Tank, very cool. I'm very excited to hear about the Money Ref, and maybe I'll get my wife to come on, and we can argue about about shopping for our 4 kids on Christmas. But yeah, awesome. best wishes on that, and all the luck in the world on it. Ted, I'd like to shift gears and ask you my two signature questions here as we kind of round third
Sure.
base on the call here, and to get your answer. I'm pretty excited about them and about your answers to these two questions. So here we go. Ted, if you could pick up the phone and make a call, and on the other end of the line, 25-year-old Teddy Jenkin answers the phone.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to your 25-year-old self?
Knowing what I know now, I would try to influence the younger version of me to go with your gut. I think that there are a lot of times that you can talk yourself out of doing something because you've got fears, fear of failure, fear of not having money, fear of the unknown. And it stops us from taking chances to be who we could be. And I would tell them that, look, life's not a guarantee. There's nothing guaranteed in life, really. It's just a dash. You're born today, there's a small dash, you die tomorrow. You have one chance to make the most of whatever talents you have. So do it. And I kind of wish I would have done it sooner. I don't regret how many years I spent in corporate America. But sometimes I wish I had done it sooner, because in my heart of hearts, I'm a freewheeling entrepreneur. I really wasn't meant for the corporate world. I just didn't know it for a lot of years. So it's just the way I think.
Very insightful. Very insightful. Question number two. So about number one. So fear. You would tell yourself, go with your gut, ignore the fear, or step into the fear, and go out on your own earlier. That's great advice. A lot of wholesalers and financial advisors are afraid to leave that nest, and even myself. I have great aspirations, and sometimes that fear of this, that, and the other thing pulls you back down. So I appreciate.
Well, you have it both
advice.
ways, man. There are financial advisors that want to be wholesalers. And I talk to some wholesalers that are like, I'm thinking about getting out of wholesaling and becoming a financial advisor. And it's like, but if I'm making $300,000 a year, it's like, how do I go back to zero? That's right. That's the conversation. And it's just like, well, it depends. What's your goal? Like, if you really want to build equity and you want to build something you own and you want full control and you don't want to be told exactly what you have to sell every year, there's more than just a money decision with it, but usually it becomes black and white that way. So it's like, what's your gut tell you? Does your gut tell you like you should stay doing what you're doing for 5 more years or not? And
yeah, it's very interesting. In fact, we didn't have time to get into it this show. Maybe when I have you back on the show for the follow-up about the money ref, we'll talk about it. But you mentioned short-term planning versus long-term financial planning. And that long-term view can be very helpful in the long term. But yeah, that short-term pain sometimes is a little bit too daunting. And the grass always looks greener. That's what I always am reminded of as well. Question number two, and this one's going to be kind of funny. But Ted, if you could have any superpower that you'd like, which one would you choose, and what would you do with it?
Man, superpower, huh? Well, I don't sleep that much as it is, but if I had a way to basically stay awake 24 hours a day, I would do it. It would be such a cool superpower, because to me, all the years I've been in leadership, Mike, the only equalizer, the only one that's equal of all of us I found over time is time. None of us have more than 168 hours in a week. So the difference between who basically does what in life becomes a function about how well you manage that, because you don't have more of it. So if I had a superpower to have that extra 5 or 6 hours a day, because I won't sleep more than 5 hours usually, I would love to have it. It would allow me. I have so many things I want to do, and the challenge for me a lot is I run out of bandwidth. I run out of time. And I'm asking myself now, not when am I going to retire? Hell, I'm never going to retire. Why would I want to do that? That's dumb. I have things I want to do and create. And I'll tell you, I interviewed Fran Tarkington the other day, Hall of Fame quarterback for the TV show I'm doing in Atlanta. And he's 78. He owns 10 businesses. He looks like he's 58. The dude is full of energy. And I'm like, man, this guy, he already was a Hall of Fame quarterback. He doesn't need to do anything else in his life, but he has 10 businesses now that he's running. And it was so damn inspiring, because I'm like, yeah, I'm going to turn 50. I'm not even started on my journey. You can look at it and be like, wow, you accomplished so much. And I'm thinking, well, whatever I did, so what? It's not what happened. It's what I'm going to do next. And that, to me, it's a reason to get up every day. So if I had more time, man, I would love that superpower.
And you're an inspiration, Ted. You're an inspiration. Yeah, I would love to shave off some time as well. One of my mentors mentioned that, if you get up and you get to work at 5 a.m., most people get to work by 9 a.m. Well, that means that basically you have a head start to April on them over the year. They're waiting until April to get started just to keep up with you. So,
people will say that a lot to me. They'll be like, man, you work so much. And I go, you had one fatal flaw in the assumption that you made. And that's that you said it was work, right? That was the flaw that you had, because, I'm not working. I'm going after all the things that I want to accomplish. And that's not work. It's chasing my dreams and my passions, the things I love.
That's the American way of life. Is what it's supposed to be.
So it's the greatest country in the world.
100%. Yeah. So I did see that interview with you and Fran. The guy looks great.
It's unbelievable.
I mean, he could be a lead singer of a rock band still, the Rolling Stones or Aerosmith. They could do a cameo with them 100%. And I'll give you this as a token, and I use this myself. I don't believe in age.
Yeah.
I think it's a lie. And I think that anybody asks you, hey, how old are you? And you tell them, oh, I'm turning 50. And the first thing anything they say is going to be negative in this regard. They're going to say, you look great for someone that's that age.
Right.
Well, how about I just look great?
Right.
Why does it got to be an age thing? So when people ask me how old I am, I try to, dodge the question a little bit and tell them a little story about how I don't believe in age. But this is what I end up telling them. And you can use this too if you'd like. I say, let's just say that I'm closer to, let's just say that I'm closer to 45 than I am to 35. And yes, sir, I will be closer to 45 than I am to 35 for the rest of my life. But it kind of, leaves them with the understanding of, kind of my experience level, maturity level.
It's a funny thing you're saying. We started doing, I'll tell you a great idea for wholesalers and alike in here. I started doing some dinners with in Atlanta, and we bring people together in Atlanta, about 12 people for a dinner. The key to the dinner, we have really good conversations, but no one ever says what they do. And we spend a lot of time in our lives when you meet someone, it's like the first question you have is like, what do you do? And it's like, I immediately judge you. Are you a CEO? Are you a wholesaler? It's like, I mean, what do you care? What would you rather have is really good conversations with people so they can learn from you and you can learn from them. And it's been one of the most fun things I've done over the last year. It's just, we just have these conversations like, what is gratitude, or what is love, or, just dialogues about stuff. And you got to do more of that stuff.
I really like that. I really like that, because so many times, as soon as you answer that question, how old you are, where do you live, what do, you put them in a box.
Yeah. Those are all our first 3 or 4 questions.
and it puts you in a box. Oh, you're from the wrong side of town, the right side of town. Right. You went to Boston College. Well, I went to Notre Dame, and it really puts you in a box. And I like what you're doing is you're actually looking forward, and you're talking about an idea and just getting someone's opinion about that idea without thinking about what box they're speaking from. So
yeah,
that's ingenious. I'm gonna actually try to employ that. So I'll report back to you on my success. Hey Ted, as we close up here, I just want to publicly acknowledge and appreciate you. You've been a mentor of mine. You've been a leader, and I was fortunate enough to cross paths with you, to see that positive outlook that you had and the inspiration, and even to have close relationships with some of the advisors that you were inspiring. So even though you weren't directly involved with me, you were still inspirational, and I appreciate you for that. So thanks for that. And I think I can speak on behalf of all of the financial advisors, frankly, all of the wholesalers and most likely clients alike, and to tell you thank you for your work. We all appreciate you and your work, and we wish you much fortune and success, both now and in the future. So with that, any final words that you might have for the audience here, financial advisors, wholesalers, and the such, on what 2019, 20, and 21 could look like if they embrace what you're talking about with your platforms?
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing is that with all the digital world that we're in today, and we've talked about social media, underneath it all, people still want to know that they matter. And if you just get underneath that surface just a little bit and let those advisors know they matter, touch them in a personal way around something in their lives or something you've researched, like you did a ton of research today, there's going to be such an easier way for you to grow your business, because everything is so impersonal today. And while everything gets more impersonal, my opinion is if you just get a little bit more personal, right, and you overlay the social media stuff that we're talking about, you'll have so much business you won't know what to do with it. You really will.
Thanks again, Ted. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Mr. Ted Jenkin on the Awesome Wholesaler Experience podcast. Hey, if you'd like to support the show, and really only if you'd like to, you can go ahead and subscribe. We publish on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play. If you thought the episode was worthy, go ahead and give us a 5-star review. You can contact Ted at his many different locations. But most importantly, if you subscribe and then share this episode to your friends, colleagues, wholesalers, financial advisors, Ted's companies might be, just what they are looking for. Hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks for listening. Thanks for the support. And most of all, thanks for being awesome. Good night, everybody.